Have you ever heard the names Lewis and Clark and wondered what the big deal was? Me too. Until I learned that they were some of the most famous explorers of all time. Now watch this short live-action documentary of yours truly and friends. In 1803, Napoleon offered to sell the Louisiana Territory to the U.S., and the U.S. agreed. They paid approximately $15 million for the territory and acquired 828,000 square miles of land. They paid less than 3 cents per acre. The Louisiana Purchase is what made Lewis and Clark famous. After the land was purchased, the land would need to be explored. Little did they know that they would be the men exploring it. President Jefferson first asked Lewis to head the expedition with a party of men who volunteered to explore the new land. Afterwards, Lewis asked his good friend Clark to go with him.
My dear friend Clark, what are you doing out here?
Contemplating the universe. I sure wish I could see more.
Well, you can, because the President asked me to go on a great expedition to map and discover new life in the land he brought. And if you would like to, you could join me and see more than any other man has.
I'd sure like that. I saw me a MacBook.
Isn't that like a sea trout or something?
Clark hired and trained the men, and Lewis gathered supplies. They packed lots of equipment for their trip, including rifles, food, and warm clothing. They even brought lots of glass beads and trinkets so they could trade with the Indians along the way. In May 1804, with 40 men, they began in St. Louis. They headed upriver in a keelboat and pirogues. Lewis and Clark met many Native American tribes along the way. Although there were some tense moments, they made friends and traded with them. They even spent the first winter with a Mandan nation. There, they met a fur trapper named Toussaint Charbonneau and his Shoshone wife, Sacagawea.
Are you a native of these lands?
Yes, I am Sacagawea.
Would you come with us on our quest and help us communicate with your brethren and sisters?
Yes.
Sacagawea joined the expedition as an interpreter. She helped the expedition in many ways as they traveled, including showing them edible plants and helping them to keep peace and trade with different tribes. Without help from the Native American tribes as well as Sacagawea, the expedition would have surely failed.
Hey, Clark, found a new kind of plant. I don't know what it is. Looks like you could milk it like a snake. Hey, Sacagawea, what is this?
It is ancient plant. Many medicinal properties, like constipation relief.
Oh,
Serpent.
I think we should call it snakeweed. Hey, what's that there on that stick?
It is bird dung.
Makes sense.
Clark, write this down for me. Day 94. We've been attacked by a black panther, and at the very start, there was a brown bear that was in a tree. But so far, there hasn't been any real danger. We found a woman named Sacagawea. She's helped us translate with the other natives and trade for pelts and other things that we don't have. Day 95. We found a new species of plant. The natives call it serpent, but I think we're gonna get a fancy name for it, like snakeweed. I feel like something like that would be real nice.
This bird duck tastes like a fish biscuit.
It's made with fish.
White man food! Disgusting.
A near disaster occurred when one of the boats, which had lifted a sail to catch the breeze, nearly flipped over upon the sudden arrival of a storm. The boat lay on its side for a while, and many supplies fell out. However, Sacagawea's quick thinking managed to save many of the supplies and items from the water, while many of the men panicked. Without her calm ability to handle the situation and fish the goods out of the river, the mission might have met its doom.
It's been 8 weeks since we've seen any danger, and even then it was just a bear up in a tree. But, wait, what in tarnation? Get him! Fireman! Fire! Let's go see what we got. It was a black panther. God darn it, where do you start?
Don't you start in the sternum?
No, man, no, that's for fishes.
I will show you how to skin animal correct.
Where'd you get that knife there?
I kill white man.
That where you got the pelt too?
I kill rabbit.
That's a big rabbit.
As the expedition continued up the Missouri River into what is today the state of Montana, they ran into the Great Falls. It took the men nearly a month to carry their boats for miles around the Great Falls. Next, Lewis and Clark came to the Rocky Mountains. These mountains were much more difficult to traverse than they first expected. When they finally made it across the Rockies, they met the Nez Perce people, who helped them with food and shelter. It was in November 1805, around a year and a half after leaving St. Louis, that they finally reached the Pacific Ocean. They stayed that winter near the ocean and started home again in March of 1806. It only took them around 6 months for the return journey.
I think we found an ocean.
All I see at home. Small pond and river. What must the gods think?
Probably something like we've seen it before.
Sacagawea, come look at this.
Bet you never seen that before. That there's a darn whale.
Ah, David! Shiver me timbers!
Fun and slightly sad fact, they took 200 dogs and only one of them returned. He was a Newfoundland named Seaman. The rest of the dogs were eaten.